Welcome everybody to another edition of Slum to Stardom. This is Ola here. It's good to be back again. Thank you so much to everybody that has been following us, supporting us from the back end. We really do appreciate you. It's good to be back here. We have our friends join us here. There's Azubike is back here, the one and famous old Ninja. How are you?
Pleasure, Ola.
How you doing?
All right, even though it's quite chilly. Okay.
Yes, we have our delectable woman here, Choma Tichi.
Hello, Ola. How are you today?
How you doing? It's good to have you join us.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I've been good.
I've been hearing some gist about you, but I will not want to open your
Okay,
your
no,
stuff here.
Good gist, alright.
Yes, good gist about your efforts in the football world, especially in the education aspect, what you're trying to push so that our young guys can learn more about things they need to know. There are some things that they've actually been forgotten about. Can you tell us one thing that you've actually been don't let me say it.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about, I think that was 4 months ago. We had a little talk at Tough Arena. So we're trying to get the boys to learn CPR. Very important.
Okay.
Because, I mean, these days you have people just passing out
Yeah.
while they're playing football. So they learned CPR.
Okay.
Learned first aid.
Okay.
Because some clubs will tell you, oh, don't worry, I have a physio in my club. But what if the physio is attending to somebody and then your player doesn't have an idea of what to do when someone passes out? And then, of course, yours truly spoke on nutrition because I'm very particular about nutrition. So that and more,
Very fine, very fine. I really do appreciate what you do, and we'll have more times to talk about this because that's one of the basics why we do what we do here. So we have a legend here that has agreed to join us. It's a wonderful brother, wonderful father. It's handsome man also, and we have the. Can we do drum roll again, guys? Mr. Sheyi Judge Olofinjana is here to join us. You're welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, guys. It's good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. I think before anything gets said, let me say a big thank you to yourself, Chairman, for what you just mentioned. With regards to what you're doing, with regards to CPR for young players and old players, if you alike, and the nutritional part of it, whether on our continent, our nation permits us to sort of do that, I don't know, but it's very, very vital. So thank you.
Very good, very
Welcome,
good. Mr. Sheyi is the executive director of Imperial Football Club in Nigeria, the third division, and you've overseen a lot of developmental projects in Nigeria. You've also had over 50 caps for the Super Eagles that you played for us, and you are also the anchor that helped the most famous Taiwo Awoniyi to Liverpool, and right now he's in Nottingham Forest. So we are so glad to have you, sir. It's good to have you here. So how you doing, sir?
Wonderful. Like, as you said, it's a little bit chilly, but I'm sure we're warming up to things and we'll get into the thick of things as quickly as we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so when I met you, the first day I met you, I felt warmth around you. I always talk to my team about energy. I'm very particular about the energy of a person, the warmth. And now I've met you. Now we have people who have heard about you, watched you, listened to you. But please, can you tell them who Mr. Sheyi George Olofinjana is? You have your marks, still have your marks in the grassroots system, playing with the latest, I want to call it the latest because I know you have more caps to you, but with the latest engagement you have with Chelsea, let's hear everything from you.
How long have you got?
Just in brief.
I'm only joking. I mean, Oluwaseyi George Olofinjana is my name. I'm from Ekiti State. Ikere precisely, even though I've not been, believe it or not. But born in Nigeria, play football on the streets of Lagos like every other person. Every other young kid has got aspirations. Never thought in a million years I'll be sitting here saying I've got over 50 caps for Nigeria, but such was the dream at the time. That became a reality. And I say to a lot of people, my story is a little bit different from most. While a lot of young players play street football with a view to having passion to play football, I never thought I was good enough, to be honest, because I felt I've always played football in the midst of my school friends because I was quite academic, even if I say so. And I didn't think that was to be compared to the real professional world. But again, had the privilege of going to this university, study chemical engineering before leaving the shores of the country, play for Nigeria even before stepping out, which is some sort of a rare occurrence. It's not something that happens before. I mean, people play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria before stepping out. But again, I was very fortunate and privileged in the fact that I was able to do that before going out. I mean, I think when I look back now, I just feel certain things came to perfect. It was just grace. I mean, every time I think about my story, it's just grace, because as I was finishing was when the opportunity presented itself for me to go to Belgium to start with, and so one or two things led to me leaving Belgium to go to Norway. I was embraced, and when I was signed, anyway, as the rest, as I say, is history. Let me not talk about football journey here. But on the back end of that, when I was finishing football, I thought to myself, I've got a chemical engineering degree. I've got masters in project management with a view to leaving the industry altogether, going into the oil industry. The only one thing I ever liked about football, apart from playing it, is the fame. I never wanted to be famous. I wanted to be normal, like every other human being. So coaching and doing anything with that puts me in the limelight wasn't anything I wanted to do. But it's something about the game that keeps luring you back into the industry. Football is all you know, is all you've ever done with friends and what have you. So, okay, if I don't want to manage, if I don't want to be a coach, what do I want to be? Okay, I'd like to be a sporting director, stay behind the scene. I love it. I love a bit of leadership. I love innovation. I love looking into what next for the football industry and being a part of the development of that. Hence, I want to be a sporting director. So another master's degree in sporting directorship. But again, degree doesn't give you the day-to-day learning. So I attached myself to my former club, Wolverhampton Wanderers, where I learned coach. Because I believe the sporting directorship role is the guy that sits between the hierarchy and then the operational side of the business, in making sure that once you get all the resources, all the remits from above, you can then drip that down. Sorry, I'm going off for a little bit. I'll try and paraphrase right now. And the arms for me you need to look after will be the medicine and science, the coaching aspect of it, the recruitment and what have you. So while I went to Wolves, I made sure I learned all those things. So it made me coach a little bit. I was doing my coaching license as well, hence my pro license. Not because I wanted to be a manager, but again, it helps you if you're going to lead people. You got to know what your job looks like, and that's why I subjected myself to all this learning. Also, I don't want to be that ex-player who feels it's known everything because you've played football. I mean, football for me is like a company. The fact that you work in the media sector or the same company doesn't mean you know anything about finance. And if you're going to work in finance, you've got to subject yourself to learning about finance within the same company.
Exactly.
So hence the learning. And while I played, giving back to the society, giving back to the young boys, things we missed out, things I wish I knew when I was at a certain age that would have probably helped me even further, was something that, if it's this simple, if it's this, if it's not that bureaucratic, why can't we just put it in place? I just say, what, I'm just going to start an academy with a good friend of mine, Mr. Bankole Atiba, whom we have the best of stories, by the way. We played together in university. He was 3 years my senior in university. He never made it, not for lack of talent, but again, all these things we're talking about. So when we came together, it was a very, very good story to tell, in the fact that if you don't do certain things does not happen. And even when you do, there are no guarantees. Hence, make sure you educate yourself while you play the trade of football. On the back end of that, I coached the Wolverhampton Wanderers under 23s. I've been a coach. I've been a loans manager. I've been a technical director in that space. And now I work for Chelsea as the head of African Scouts.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
Talking about Imperial, what has been the challenges? Because we know how difficult it is because of this ecosystem here, the setup and everything. We know how difficult it is to sustain a business, first and foremost in Nigeria. But you've been running Imperial for the last, I believe, over a decade now. What has been the challenges through this journey that has kept you going and that you are still here?
It's a smile on the boys' faces. It's a smile on the boys' faces. I think people like myself have the grace of not, good or bad, to be fair, the grace of not staying too long within the football club itself. I'm in Imperial, so when I go out to do my thing, and when I come back, sometimes 6 months, I come home a little bit more now, but before it was a little bit difficult. And to see a kid you admit at 14, After 6 months, the man has grown up a little bit. He's almost coming up with beards, and he's able to speak with you. When they come in, he's like, "Oh yes, sir. How are you? Everything is sir, sir." I'm like, "No, don't sir me. Look me in the eye and shake me." And you see them grow in a year, in 2 years' time. They develop from young boys to men. And that is the whole thing for me. Of course, there's a business side of it. It became a business afterwards. But again, such is the impact I want to make in making sure that you give people a second chance. People can have a smile on their faces, plying the trade that they love. And for me, it's not so much about whether somebody plays in Europe or not. It's the life skills you impact in them. Because whether when you come to Imperial Football Club, even if I say so, whether you make it as a football player or not, there are certain things you will have learned that will stand you in good stead in life generally, because we teach life skills.
Okay.
What's your role within the team? So as a team, we eat together. If I don't come to the table, others don't start eating. When we train, say training is 8 o'clock, there's a part I need to play within the society. And away from just playing football, we are role models to our families to start with. We are role models to the nation. Because for everybody that has not been to Nigeria, when they see you outside of Nigeria, you are a representation of 200 million people.
Yes.
So how do you comport yourself? So for those kind of things matter to me more than, somebody's signing for Liverpool, somebody's playing for Nottingham Forest. God, that's the cream de la cream. That's all people go to know about.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So, I listened to you talk about your immersion into the football culture, coaching. Even when you didn't have to, you still learned about it. So, this thing that always pricks me. Ola knows this. Contracts. When players go to sign contracts, I've even threatened I'll get a law degree because of that. Some beautiful player, we know, had to sign a contract, but they didn't know he could say, "Oh, I can't read this in this language. Can you translate to English?" So what is the key thing every player must know before signing a contract?
Yes, well, I did ask earlier, how long have we got? I hope I'm not going on for too long, because we could be here for hours talking about the way I see life and football is there are certain things you must learn in primary school. There are certain things you learn when you're in secondary school. There are things that university gives you. But again, there's a graduation. So a lot of these young boys, all they want to do is play football. They don't want to get bogged down with a contract. They don't want to get bogged down with certain things. And why should they? That would be the work. Our work as custodians, as administrators. That would be our job as some other people's job with regards agency. A lot of players, do they even know that the agent works for them rather than them working for the agent? So it's a complete lack of education. By education, I don't mean going to school. When you begin to come in as a toddler and you're playing football, and then you graduate to what we call the professional side of things, there are certain things you must begin to know in terms of, okay, this is what it looks like. As an example, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be saying this without mentioning name. When it gets to a point where we transfer players to Europe, I take it upon myself to give them certain education. I don't want to do that too early, because you sow a dream that you're not sure is going to be realized. But once you begin to sort of go to Europe to play football, there's a conscious education on agents. These are the things that you need to be aware of. This is what should happen. This is this and this, and of course it's tweakable. But again, make sure you know certain things about it. Away from that is even investment, because if we are not careful, we educate these boys and then they make it, and then we leave them and we say bye-bye to them. How do you nurture them? So actively, I get almost all my players on a yearly basis. I'm part of the guys that sign your contract. I know how much you're earning. What are you doing with your money? Please don't do any business through me. I don't need your money. But I want to know that you're putting your money here, you're doing this, you're doing that. So it's a complete package of education. Again, when I did my dissertation, when I did my sporting directorship, I did my dissertation in lack of education in football. Because on the back end of it, I think, going by my own personal experience, football gives you an awful lot. Football throws an awful lot at you. Not so much in our environment, but even in the big clubs in Europe, when you have an 18-year-old boy who's got a dad who's never played football before, who doesn't know the industry as such, and then you begin to throw £10,000 at him a week, and then you expect him to be normal. All of us blame the boys for, I trained for 2 hours in the 24 hours. I've got a house, I've got a car, I've got money to. Where do you want me to spend my time, actually? Of course, I'm going to be introduced to all kind of things. And I don't think the football industry that is giving us that amount of remuneration is actually educating us enough on how to do it. And there was a lot of talk around it. So it's a total package, not just contracts, is what I'm saying. There's a lot more that the average kid needs to know with regards to sport, because it's getting more and more businessy rather than just an entertainment football sport.
Yeah, Hadu, I know you have something for him. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Did you at any point reject the NFF technical role? And your reasons why you rejected it?
I'm always very careful when I say this, because I don't want it to come out as a negative. It's a decision I regret the 2 times it has happened, because nothing gladdens my heart that I was even considered to start with. To have been privileged enough for a boy that never thought he was good enough to play football, to have played professional football, to have played for my country for almost a decade, to have had over 50 caps, like you said, and then on the back end of it to be considered good enough to lead the technical arm of the federation, for me is something I would never forget. And it was something I'll be very grateful, not just to the guys that gave me the call or wanted to give me the opportunity, but to the entire nation for the trust. And so to have said no seemed like, oh yeah, well, you're feeling like you're feeling big time. That is not what it is at all. But for me, the trick is in the name. It's a technical job. I mean, if I'm not going to be allowed to do certain things, then what's the point? I might as well just stay where. And again, I didn't think the federation was ready, which of course I knew. Like I said, I played for this country for 10 years. I know where the problems are. I know what we're facing. But again, I think we need to have some kind of foundation. And I don't think anybody can finish the job. Well, let's start.
Yes.
Because there are certain things that must be identified. What is our curriculum? What's our philosophy? What does our coaching education look like? What does the media look like? Football is business. It's a community of things that must go right. It's just like forming a team. You can't have a good doctor and medical team and have a bad coach. You can't have a bad coach and then have bad media. Everything must be top notch towards making sure that those kids are well rounded, and then they begin to take the steps they require. And I didn't get the answer I wanted. It almost became a political post that somebody that has played for the federation should just sit in there. And I didn't think it sat well with me. And that was why I said no.
Okay.
As a follow-up to what you just said now, do you think we are ready now, considering the time that you were offered this? Are we ready to do it now? Would you be ready to take that post if it's been offered to you now?
It wasn't about being ready. I knew we're nowhere near where we need to be. And let me throw a bit of statistics at you. This country is blessed with over 220 million people. The median age right now is 17.2. It tells you and I there are more kids there are more teenagers in this country at the moment. What does the future hold? What are we thinking about for those kids in the next 5, 10, 20 years? What's the vision? Those are what I'm talking about. What's our football looking like? What's our sport? We just went to the Olympics. Everybody we all jump up and down. Oh, yeah, why are we doing? We are very reactive as a nation. It is always when those Olympics come around that we talk about it. Under 17, under 21 for football, what are we doing? When it's a month, 2, 3 months before the tournament, then we start jumping up and down, putting boys together and expect them to go and perform magic. It's impossible. And those are the things I think we need to start talking about. We need to be a bit more deliberate and not being reactive. We need to begin to plan ahead. Football requires a lot of money. No doubt about that. But again, I think we can be creative. If we put our house in order, people will support the project. But people will not just support what is not working. So there needs to be a conscious effort. As you make your bed, so you lie on it. And the journey of 1,000 miles always starts with a step. But we're not taking those steps. Why? I don't know.
That's a big one.
Interesting, yeah. Not to overflog this education thing, because that's where I shine, the boys will say. But with all you have done and all you're doing, I believe you have some football education strategies, like in Chelsea, in Imperial, even if it's just one. Like when I was teaching early age, I love teaching phonics, that's pronunciation. Cause
How am I doing so far?
So when it comes to pronunciation, I just keep going. You have to know this. You have to know this. And then I have to tell them, look, my name is Choma. I am expected to sound a certain way, but I could push myself to extent where I had to learn how to pronounce some words. So is there a football strategy, like one particular thing in your curriculum that you give to these people you work for or you work with?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because strategy is what works for where I'm privileged to be working today. You just don't wake up every day and just go to work just blindly. You're always working towards something. And when there are certain milestones are achieved, how can we make sure we get to the next one? So I was on a call yesterday, believe it or not, and some of the conversation I was having on the phone call with certain guys with regards to what's working, how does it get better, begins to scare me about what we're doing here. Because we're nowhere near. We've not even started. We don't even know what it looks like. And such is how you work. I liken the decision of our football to a company. There's nobody that has a company that doesn't have a vision. The vision then leads to the mission. It is on the back end of that mission that you begin to employ people that will deliver the vision. So if you want to build houses, you get the people who build duplexes. Duplexes are the things you need to be, who are the best guys.
Yeah.
If it's 2-bedroom, then you look for. So, but again, it always stems from a particular fit you want to attain before you then begin to plot that. At the moment, asking me the wrong question with regards whether we're ready, because until we begin to know what the vision looks like, we talk about strategy of how to achieve them. I don't know what it is at the moment, and until we know, there's no plan. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't have to be anything unbelievable. It's got to be bespoke to us, and it's got to be something we feel can. I am English trained in a way. But again, I'm Nigerian, I'm African, and I don't believe we have to bring Chelsea stuff here. I don't believe we have to. We are unique. We're unique people. We're very special people. Yeah. By all means, we can take some of the templates over there and then tweak it to suit what we have, because if it's working, why not learn from it? But it's got to be something bespoke. And dare I say, your philosophy is going to be down to what you've got in your armory. Yeah. So, as coaches, sometimes we say, it's all right taking Pep Guardiola's template and then say I'm going to run with it. But if you haven't got a De Bruyne and a Haaland, it's a waste of time. So whatever you have in your armory is what you sort of tweak your philosophy to suit.
Okay. Let's go to your national team career now. You made your international debut sometime in 2000, but you didn't become like a permanent fixture until like 2003. Why did it take that long before you had a presence internationally?
Well, first and foremost, the first cap was in 2000, but again, I was only playing for the home-based Super Eagles at the time, so I wasn't an established member of the squad per se. Secondly, it was down to school. I was in school at the time. I was juggling chemical engineering and playing for the Super Eagles. I'm not sure they are the best combinations, but don't ask me how I did it, but I did it anyway.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And after that, your first major tournament was the AFCON in 2004. There was this incident where Jaziri fell off from your tackle. Did you actually touch him, or he kind of because we knew he was a tricky kind of player, did he kind of get you to engage or something? What was that scenario like?
Let me answer that question very tactfully. You will always only be as good as the education you get. And I was still, again, like you can imagine, I was still very raw, even though I just signed for my Norwegian club at the time. But my very African way of doing things, which is nothing wrong with it, by the way, I'm quite proud of it. But there are certain things, even up till today, with our refereeing, that we let go. And then when we get to major tournaments that are not permissible, we think, oh yeah. Because for years, I argued that it wasn't a free kick. But now with my understanding, after plying my trade in Europe and then knowing what not just the European style of play gives us, but actually what the regulations are with regards to certain tackles, I understood I made a mistake. But me, an African, hey, let's go for it. And, I thought I got away with it, but it was a free kick, it was a penalty.
Okay, that team in particular, how close were they to actually winning the tournament?
Oh, we underachieved massively. Forget about the tournament, and I'm sure my colleagues, if they're listening to this, will bear me witness. I was again very, very privileged to have met some wonderful players in the national team. That back then I had a JJ on my right, I had a Kano on my left, I had Yakubu from Obafemi Martins is there, Femi Ajilore is still waiting in the wings, Ayila. To have those, and I can go on mentioning names, to have those particular group of players in one squad, and then you look back and from someone like myself, 2 bronze medal. Well, I'm quite happy to get anything anyway, given my talent at the time. But again, with those guys, we should be vying for Olympics, for AFCON, for World Cup. You know, of course, they did before my joining the team. They did whatever they did. The guys that did it, but it was too rich a squad to sort of have what we had at the time. But there's always something about African players coming together and performing. We do well with our individual clubs, but when we come together, it just doesn't work. And again, dare I say, it's a culture that needs to be changed.
Okay. Now, in those tournaments you played, which particular tournament do you look back and say, this would have been the one that we would have been champions?
I think it's 2004 one.
Okay.
As a young footballer at the time, you always feel, oh yeah, wow, if we can do this, there's always going to be an opportunity. But when you then begin to look back a decade later, wow, we missed an opportunity there.
Okay.
We missed an opportunity because we were ready. Garba Lawal, what a player. The player I learnt an awful lot from. We had George Abe, we had Yobo, we had Vincent Inyama. These are world beaters. And then to have fallen that short, to have come with the bronze medal, 2010 was there as well in Angola. So we were there or thereabout. But sometimes it's always that 5%, that 2%, that marginal gain that sort of stops you doing what you need to do. You only need to look at Morocco in the World Cup.
Yeah.
That's what it means playing for your federation. Have I seen that kind of fight?
No.
I'm not sure.
Lovely.
Okay.
So there's a moment to swoon. I know it's been a while. Feels like a while. But you scored one of the strangest goals.
No, don't go there.
I have to.
Don't do that to me. Chief.
The moment is in my head. Rory Delap throws in.
You know why, sir? She's an Arsenal fan. Now the goal is again.
Don't do that.
Before you ask the question, I sincerely apologize.
I have to.
Okay.
Did you practice that goal? Because it hurts.
That's an Arsenal fan.
But I'm happy it was you, but it still hurts. It was strange. Of course, it was Rory. You know how he can, you know.
Yeah.
How? Talk me through it. What were you thinking?
Rory Delap's throw was the highlight of the week when it comes to training.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that we practiced from Monday to Friday. That was all we did. And away from the joke, it was one of the flukiest goals I've ever scored. But again, you see, I said something earlier, which again, that's what we're talking about, lends some kind of credence to, in the fact that the players you've got at your disposal begins to form your philosophy. It would have been easy for Tony Pulis at the time to say, I want to play sexy football, I want to do this, I want to do that. They just got promoted to the Premier League. I joined them within that season, and looking at the squad, like, well, young, maybe not so experienced player in the Premier League, you have to play a certain way. Yeah. It's about using what you've got within your camp to then begin to find results. And that's why Rory Delap was very instrumental to everything we did. So.
But you finished. I just want to put that out.
I apologize.
Put the nail.
I wasn't going to go there, and that's why I apologize for the question.
And now Arsenal do have a long history with Stoke.
Yeah.
You know this.
Wenger never liked playing against Stoke at the time.
Yes.
He never did.
I agree.
Yeah. Let me not go into everything that went into the week prior to the game.
Okay.
But even Stoke itself, that squad, when they first came to the Premier League, they didn't have this kind of technical player. Everybody was this kind of tall, 6 foot, throw long thrust.
Believe it or not, we had some technical players. It was just, I think for the manager, it was a case of let us do it a different way.
Okay.
Do it a different way in the fact that statistically, a lot of clubs that have gotten promoted to the Premier League and kept the same players, there has been some form of relegation. Don't forget, there was a lot of changes within that same year. So I came in, James Beattie came in, Abdoulaye Faye came in. Another Abdoulaye, the Senegalese
Faye.
came in as well. So it was a lot to put together within a short period of time to perform in the Premier League. So you need to, before you stabilize, have some form of foundation and then play in a way you feel you can to get results to stay in the league. And you can see what they did on the back end of staying in that league. They grew and then they brought some players and then they grew into it. And that was what it took.
True.
Where did the nickname Vieira, where did it come from?
I don't know. I mean, some say we look alike. I don't know whether he looks like me or I look like him.
I think I see the resemblance.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Yeah, he was just someone that just dropped it. I think it was in the Super Eagles, actually.
Who first called you Vieira?
It might have been Yobo, you know. It might have been Joseph Yobo, yeah. And it's just stuck ever since.
Wow.
Okay. Do you remember your encounter against him when you played that friendly against France?
Yeah, well, it's not to be. You don't forget performances like that. It was It was quite a performance. Again, it wasn't because we were playing in Europe. Was it because that for me should be the Super Eagles we see. Win, lose, draw. It wasn't so much about whether we won the game or not. It was just how we played, how we performed, and it was good. But again, to have beaten France or Saint Etienne in France, it's no mean feat. We're talking about France, by the way.
True.
Yeah.
True. And will you look back and say that was like your best performance for the national team?
One of.
Okay.
One of, I would say. I think I had a few decent games for the federation in the less lackluster games, but quite important as well. Also, viewing became a little bit easier because, dare I say, playing against a European opposition, the caliber of the team we played. But I'm sure there were times we played against Burundi because we needed to qualify that nobody saw because it wasn't on TV. So
yeah, true.
Offers that came in England, then you never really had. You only played for All City and Stoke that we know. Was there any other offers back then that looked close to happening that never really happened?
Yeah, there were one too many. There were a lot. I'm not sure this is the place for it, but yeah. I look back. I think people ask me this question when we do things like this, and after the whole questioning, and we've got 12 questions, and now we're getting to the 11th one. Do you have any regrets? Football. I'm too blessed to regret anything.
Yeah.
I'm too blessed to regret. I mean, it's just favor, it's grace to. I mean, we're just throwing statistics out with regards to over 220 million people in this country at 17.2 million age, and then to be privileged enough to be counted worthy to be one of the 11, one of the 25, one of the 40, however many, to represent this country that's littered with talent. There's no regret. There's no regret.
You've held roles as, like you said, alluded to the academy coach, the loans manager, the sporting director, and now you're the head of scouting here in Africa. Do you fancy yourself becoming a manager eventually at some point?
Not at all. I think that boat has sailed. I will coach. I enjoy coaching, but in my own local Odogbolu, I'm gonna stay with my boys. I will enjoy that every day. I mean, I love coaching. Like I said, I love innovation. I love some kind of leadership. I love seeing things change and to be with those boys and then tell them to pass the ball and receive and pass it, and then you can see it work. I love it. But to be some kind of manager in a club within the national setting, I don't see myself doing that.
But now that, let me just say congratulations on your new appointment, your recent appointment as the team manager. I want you to tell us more about it for Chelsea Football Club. What are your roles there, and what are your aspirations? What are you looking for to achieve in that role, and how we in Africa can tap into what you are into now, sir?
Yeah, so the role is with myself and a very good friend of mine, Achiro.
Okay.
Yeah, Goa is unbelievably knowledgeable about African players. Let us not forget, even though I'm Nigerian, the last 20 plus years I've lived in Europe.
Yes.
So you've almost lost touch of, what was doing well, which I'm trying to sort of grapple with right now. But he's so knowledgeable. He's vastly knowledgeable with the best young legs in Africa, and he does an awful lot. So I just sit down here and be the ex-international that is claiming the glory, but honestly, I could take nothing away from the guy. He's doing a wonderful job. So we work together, and the idea is for him to sort of identify those talents. We sense check, make sure he's okay, and my job essentially is looking after the management of the players. So what do I mean? For example, well, gone are the days when you begin to look at players in Africa from 18, 19, 20. It's almost getting too late now, with boys having debuts at 15, 16 in Europe. So how do we then begin to make sure we don't lag behind? So we're looking at exceptional 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And if FIFA says they can't leave the country until 18, my job is to then see, okay, what's the management like? What do they need prior to that time? Technical, tactical, language, cultural adaptation. How do they actually go to Europe or wherever we find them to sort of make sure they have that education before they turn 18? Because on the dot of 18, you need to start performing. It's not the time to go and start looking at how beautiful Stamford Bridge is and now looking, what's going on. You need to have all those education prior to then hit the ground around 18 and then see. The size of the club also makes it very difficult to sort of take too many.
Yes.
I don't, shamefully, I don't think the level of education we have in this country with regards to our football from a tender age is commensurate to what is required at the level. So they might need to, again, part of my job would be that we may need to have them go somewhere to go and get that education in Europe with a view to coming back to play for us as Chelsea, if they're good enough. And if not, at least we'll have another football player find a career somewhere.
Okay, and I think you immediately got the appointment. Not long after that, we had the news about Afis Umar. Were you the one that that handled the transfer?
Not at all. I had nothing to do with Afis, to be fair. Afis only was on trial at Chelsea, I heard. And I mean, I don't think it's ideal to sort of speak about any particular player, which an event, but yeah, he came to Chelsea, he did well, but now I'm happy he's signed for Reims in France. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not so much about, everybody has to play for Chelsea. Chelsea, you've been there, you've done your bit. I like to think he's learned one or two things that has now stood him in a good stead to sort of sign for Reims, and I wish him the best.
Okay, I want to ask a technical question now regarding player development. Now, back in the days, you had to be about 21, 20, 22 before you can now start like really producing results, unless you were the exceptional talent. But now it's as if 18 is like the barest minimum you have to reach now to become that very good player. Now, when you start so early and you play so many games before you are, let's say, 30, how do you kind of negate? How easy is it for those players now to like not suffer burnouts, that maybe their games just start declining before they are 32, 33? Do you feel there's so much pressure on young players now to like hit it
deliver.
Big and deliver so early?
I can answer that question in so many different forms, but let me try.
Okay.
I have a saying in life generally. If you want to sort of take whatever you're learning to the next level, you have to plan, you have to do, then you have to do the review. The review is the most important part of it. So I also said something earlier that in the biggest clubs in Europe, Guardiola, for example, I mean, I'm sure if he's watching, he won't mind me saying it, won the Premier League back-to-back, has done an awful lot in the game. There will always be that element of, now people will have watched the 38 games we've played, they will be catching up, they will be doing the same thing. What next? It's about the what next. That is what those guys are quite good at. So you said 18. 18 right now is even to, Iwanere made his debut for Arsenal at 15.
Yes.
So that's the level we're talking about. But scientifically, these guys have a raft of data that they've looked into and then looked, okay, how many boys at that age have done that? Maybe that's why we don't see him an awful lot within the Arsenal setting, not because he's not good enough to play at the moment, but the load might be too much. It might still be growing. How many games? If it's a 30-game period, maybe you should play 15 good ones rather than play 28 and then he's suffering. So it's an element to it. I also said earlier, that is why you can't have a good coach and have a bad medical team. So scientifically, when we come into an MDT meeting, the multidisciplinary team, the manager has an equal say as a medical person, because he could be sat there saying, this boy in a 30-game season should not play more than 10, and these are the why. because scientifically we think this with this body structure, with this
Yeah.
injury history, with a number of parameters. So when we're talking about player development, it's individual. You can't just look at it, but you can only look at the experience of what has happened, and even that sometimes you fail. Because you could have an individual whom you've not had a specimen before, you've not had his profile before, and then you're trying to sort of juxtapose what you've used before with a new individual. But they are not afraid to take those steps because there's too much to consider. What about, is he a quick player? Is he a slow player? Does he need to get quicker by the virtue of his position? What is his profile like? Is he a tall one that is quick? If you're tall and you're quick, you're susceptible more to injury because naturally when you're tall, you're not too quick. So it's a number of things you need to then begin to look at, to then begin to work out the way to get the best out of the individual. And dare I say, these debut ages are getting lower, but there's even more longevity now with playing careers.
Yeah,
Because
true.
scientifically, it's a lot better with the recovery, things you need to do to sort of get back to shape very quickly. It's a number of things that we are looking into now.
But staying at that top level for so long is, would I say, is not so common, except maybe Messi and Ronaldo that are kind of like the exceptions. But you have the likes of, let's say, Rashford, for instance. He's 26, but you will not believe he's 26 years old. Feels as if he's been playing for so many years. But it seems as if his game has just stagnated for a while now. Those are the kind of like examples I'm trying to bring here.
But that's one. Like I said, there will always be an exception to the rule in a way, but you only need to look at the totality of it. So rather than single out a player, look at the actually other people in Rashford's age who are actually performing. Gordon for Newcastle, for example.
Yeah.
He stayed on top of his game for how many years now? I can give you a raft of names of people that are doing it. And Rashford's case could be mental, it could be emotional. Of course, it's a young Manchester United kid, and it could be a number of things. I mean, let us not talk about individual players right now, but just generally speaking, it works because it's a bespoke program for the individual. Football, for me, is an individual sport within the collective.
Can you also say that these things that are happening is what is the distance between Nigerian players right now and their European counterparts? These details that you just brought out. Okay, that's sorted now. Now, that the aspect of, do you feel like Nigerian players now can get to that level where they were like in the 90s, even in the early 2000s, in terms of their development, in terms of reaching the levels of their European counterparts?
Nigerians can do anything.
Okay.
I think the phrase in the Bible, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made," applies to Nigeria. This country is blessed with talents. I don't think we know how good we are. For those of us that have the privilege of living here and living abroad, we know how highly rated we are. Forget about the negative stories that comes attached. Negative news travels fast. But when you look at the world, America is one of the strongest nations in the world. Top doctors, top lawyers, top everything, Nigerians are there. And there's so many of us in this country. Forget about football. I'm talking about everything in the world. I don't care what industry. We are talented, but we are not developing because we are ignoring education. We are ignoring innovation. We are not moving with time. Foreign doesn't always have to be the best. There are wonderful people here that can do things our way and then be unique that way.
Okay.
I think that's also right. We just have to do things our way, and with how unique we are. We are so blessed. I think it has been a common talk in our sessions. How can we do things better? Because one of the major reasons why we do what we do here is how can we communicate out there and let people tell us, people that are established like you are, be able to tell us what can we do better. What are we? That's why I asked the other question. Have we even started? Are we even ready for this? But it appears that we still have a long way to go. I think it was also the same thing that one of our former guests mentioned, that Mr. Femi Ajilore. We have to. It's just a long shot for us now, and the hunger is there. Every young man, we've all had these lofty dreams where we're growing up at. Nigeria will get there. One day we'll win the World Cup. But the dream it's fading away right now. It appears that we'll take a step forward, and the next step we'll take two steps back.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? So we just hope our football body, everybody have we are praying for better people. People like you are, people like ex-East internationals, because we have always been craving for these things, that we need people like this to come up and be part of the NFF body. And we
Even
hope
at their communities, grassroots
grassroots
communities,
so that they
all of
can
it.
take stand against this thing. When are we going to get it right? Because we just have to start taking such steps now. I'll go to my last question before we let you go. Our last AFCON, did you watch it?
Some part of it, yeah.
Did you watch the final?
Did.
What do you think we could have done better to bring home the cup that day?
Hindsight is always a great thing, isn't it? It's very easy to sit down here and then criticize and scrutinize people. And if you do, you're doomed. If you don't, it's the same. The only thing that stands you in a good state is to get the cup and bring the cup home. So I don't think the coaches did anything wrong. Probably a little bit tweak here and there, but like I said, it's very easy to sit down here and then analyze what has already happened. You know, in the moment, I'm sure the problem the coach will have faced is, okay, we've played a particular system that has gotten us this far. Do we stick with it or do we change the pattern? If you change and then you lose, why? You see, we have been doing it this way. So if it's not broken, why fix it? And now all of a sudden, we've done the same thing and then we found ourselves where we are and then, maybe you should have done it. Of course, they should have. Anybody can see a problem. How many people can actually proffer solutions in the moment, not afterwards? And dare I say, you know, I look beyond the final. I want to commend the team. I want to commend the coaches. I want to commend the federation to have gotten the boys that far, because let's face it, I was in Uyo, we played the World Cup qualifier prior to that tournament, and I didn't think the team would even go past the first round. So to have made it to the final is a big testament to what the boys and the coaching have done. So we must not look past that. It looks like a missed opportunity right now, but given where we were to where we ended up, chalk and cheese.
Wonderful.
Regarding management, I believe you've gone. You know the English school of management, the Spanish, the German, and the Dutch. We've had successes with the Dutch school of coaching. If you compare the foreign managers we've had over time and the style of football they played, which school actually fits the Nigerian style of football? Or should I say Nigerian environment, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, again, for me, I would like to apologize to you. That for me has been reactive.
Okay.
So, my job as a technical director, when I was technical director of a club in Europe, is to get all the information from the hierarchy. Okay, for example, you just acquire a football club. What do you want to achieve with the football club? Are you in the first division? Do you want to go to play in the Champions League? That then determines what you do. Or do you want to just stay in the league because of where we are? There's no finances. Or, okay, we have enough budget. Until you begin to get all those together, you can then not begin to put a team together that will then deliver that. It goes back to the vision and the mission thing that I said earlier. So as a people, as a country, where do we see ourselves? Until we begin to say, okay, in the next 10 years, we want to do this and this and this and that. What does the great look like? Then you start begin to plot the graph of how to get there. The sport director of Germany is a very good friend of mine. He said to me, it took 10 years for Germany to win the World Cup in 2014.
Yes.
So when they went into 2020 and they didn't quite make it, they knew what was going on. They knew when it was before, but they were building towards something. Oh yeah, this is not working, let's take it out. Or this is actually working, how can we make it better to tweak it and what have you. And you don't have to win it. You don't have to win it in that period, but you need to help yourself to put certain things in place towards achieving your goal. So until we know what we stand for, what we need to achieve, Dutch, Spanish is immaterial. Football is football. The players you've got at your disposal determines your philosophy. Yeah. If it's not so much about the 4-4-2, I don't believe so much in system. Sorry, I'm delving into the nitty-gritty of the football now. It's so much in the principles of play. For example, if you have 3 good strikers, why play one and then put it on the bench? Why don't you play 4-4-2? It comes with the other parts of the game as well. Do you have too many players that can do the job? It's a number of conundrums that allows you to do that. And football, for me, is very life-related. So what do you have at your disposal? Football for Nigeria should be more than just playing a game of football for 90 minutes.
Yes.
To create a culture. People need to see certain things, win, lose, draw. What does the Nigerian team represent? Are they fighting for the ball? Are they actually committing to it? People need to come to the stadium to see that. Nigerians demand that. And I'm not saying the present crop we are not doing that. I'm not in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just saying until a lot of our athletes, football, basketball, whatever, begin to know that they represent the struggles of over 200 million people culturally, then there's trouble. We will not give our utmost best. You might give 99, you might give 98, but again, we just realized in the last AFCON that is marginal gains. Until you actually hit that 9900, you won't get what you need to get.
Okay. Wonderful time, wonderful time. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Shi. I think we have learned a lot, especially I think that's the benefit of this, what we have done, I believe is going to go a long way to especially the education aspect, which is why what we want to achieve. I want to say thank you so much for gracing us, for coming. We really do appreciate you. We wish you all the best in Chelsea, in Imperial Football Club also, in whatever endeavor you're doing. Before we let you go, there's this game that we normally play in-house. We just want you to, there are two games in particular. Number one, we want you to pick your best five-a-side team. If you had to pick a best five-a-side team, with you being the coach. Number two, if you had to be, I want you to create your best player using heading ability, chesting ability, control your right and left foot. If you had to create your best player.
Complete player.
I think we should start with that before we choose your best five. So let's pick the heading ability. If you had to pick someone, who would you want to be like?
Monsieur Adequaji for once.
Okay.
Monsieur Adequaji was unbelievable with his heading ability.
Wow. Chest?
Drogba was awesome, wasn't he?
Drogba
didn't do too badly.
Control?
JJ coach has got to be. I could go JJ, I could go Kano. When football is like magnets to those guys' feet. They're just unbelievable human beings.
Right foot?
This could be anybody.
Yes, could be anybody.
I'm going to go with the best player I ever played against, Paul Scholes.
Wow. Good, cool. Paul Scholes.
Unbelievable.
Very.
Left foot? There we go again.
Listen, if I begin to go into archives.
We'll take it.
There we go again.
Left foot. What? This is hard. This is super hard. What should it be left foot be doing, Seth? Is it just striking the ball? Is it
sure, striking, dribble, if possible. Control also.
And it doesn't. I don't have to have played with the person. It's just
no. Who would you want to be like to have his level left foot?
Messi has not been bad, has he?
No.
Okay. So let's go with your best five-a-side team.
Including goalkeeper?
Yes, please.
I've got to pick Vincent Nyama.
Okay.
One.
Vincent was, because if Vincent was in Nigeria, I don't know what we'll be saying now. But honestly, it was unbelievable. What a great goalkeeper it was, by the way. 5. So what formation are we going with? 2 defenders, 2 midfield players, 1 centre forward. It doesn't have to be Nigerian. It could be anybody.
Your teammates you played with.
Might be your teammates that you play with.
Defender Julian Lescott.
Okay.
You guys are putting me on the spot. This is not good.
No, it's
See me trying to do competition like somebody is competing with me. Like second defender, I go with John Terry.
Okay.
Okay.
Terry is awesome. I could have gone with Rio Ferdinand and all those guys, but I'll stick with those 2.
Then let's cut
midfield.
Yeah.
It's got to be JJ and Kano.
Okay.
nice.
Okay.
I don't
That's
even want to think too far.
We
I
have
could have
one
put
more.
sports goals, but again,
Let's have a striker. Let's have him pick a striker. Aside Vincent
That's
Nyama.
6 now.
Yes. Let's have him pick a striker. Aside Vincent Nyama.
it's got to be Ronaldo or Phenomenon.
R9. That's a deadly team. That's a deadly team.
complete.
That's a complete team.
The
R9.
day I played against the Brazilian Ronaldo, I felt I was playing squash. That was when I knew I didn't know how to play football too much.
Well.
But that's another show in itself. Let's not go there.
That's good.
What year was that?
I think let's not go there. Don't start to.
Wow. R9. Wonderful. That's a tough one. Thank you so much for coming. It has been an awesome time. Want to appreciate you for coming also. Want to appreciate our brother, which is also in the back end. Thank you so much. Mr. Femi Ajilore is here. He's not going to be showing his face at the camera today, but we are so happy. Thank you so much, sir, We want to say we
Thank you,
love
Mr.
you. Thank you
Femi.
Thank you,
for
Mr.
being.
Femi.
Thank you for what you do at FEFC. Those young boys, they love you so much.
Yeah.
Love you. So anytime that I come there, I see the excitement in their face. Thank you for what you are doing. You are giving back to the community in your own way. Want to appreciate you. I wish you all the best. And we know there's something coming up. Everybody will soon know where we are trying to put some things together and in the grassroots. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Sheyi, thank you, sir. Want to appreciate. Want to wish you all the best in Chelsea, all the best at Imperial Football Club, and we know we'll be hearing more of you. I think
Definitely.
that's something that you have said. We'll be
Definitely.
hearing more of you in the football world. Final word from Azu. Let me start from Azubike.
Let me just say it's the first time I'm actually having a conversation with Mr. Sheyi Olofinjana. I've been reading about him since I was a child. I've been reading about his story, his progression. I've always loved the fact that he puts so much emphasis on education, and we've seen the value to this. So he is an inspiration to me. It's an inspiration to so many who see the value on something like this, and he's among the sound Nigerians we've had outside these shows. So it's a pleasure having you. It's a pleasure giving us a master class on the technical side of the game, which is not something you hear often.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Chaba, final word?
Thank you, Mr. Sheyi, for coming out and buttressing the education, the need for football education. Because when I talk about football education, people usually laugh, oh, is there something like football education? I'm like, yeah, you can get education while you're playing football. And when we look at you, you should be an ambassador for football education.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What education can do for a footballer.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I like to say this, but I know some people don't like it. It might not happen for you on the turf, but you can still work on the turf without playing a ball.
True.
So thank you so much for coming out and giving life to what we have been saying.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Any final word from you, sir?
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much. Well, let me say this. I try and hide away from speaking. My story is very, very different, and I am always very, very careful to say it, because the last thing I want to do is make my colleagues look like they don't know what they're doing. I was quite fortunate. I was quite privileged. Football came into education for me, not the other way around. So, I mean, I don't sit here clapping for myself that, oh, yeah, it looks good now. Looking back, the story looks unbelievable. But again, like I said, I never thought football was for me. I know I had a bit of talent, but I never thought I was good enough. Hence my educational journey, and then football came into it. So it wasn't like, oh, this was pre-planned. Look at where you are right now. I think what I did very well, even if I say so, is in the fact that I was able to sort of couple the opportunity together. In the fact that, okay, well, now that football has come into it, it doesn't stop my education. And it helped me massively, because it stopped me from getting distracted in a number of ways.
All right, wonderful. Want to wish you all the best.
Thank
We
you.
are really impressed. We'd love to have you again whenever you are in town, where we can discuss more on this educational aspect, because it's an aspect that nobody ever talks about. And every time we try to raise it, just like Choma said, people look at us and say, make I just play, make I just, make I just say play, make I just do this thing. So, but we know as a nation we'll get there. So I want to say thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Our thank you cannot be enough. Just like the Bible said, he said, oh, that if I have 1,000 tongues. Yeah, so that's the feeling we have right now. Thank you so much, sir. And to everybody, it's been a wonderful time for you to join us. I want to say we'll be right back. So keep on keeping on. All right, bye-bye.
Take care.